Hi, welcome to another episode of Veterans Onward to Prosperity. And I am so excited to be doing this particular episode because this is what I call a for fun episode in learning about celebrities and what they did before they became silver screen stars. Did you realize that maybe there was a time when they served in the military for real, not just as actors and actresses? Well, we're going to learn more about that with our guest today. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watch for Wild Child Records throughout the GTA, showcasing new music releases and updates from all 4 parts of the globe.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Retired Anna Maria Bliven, Veterans Onward to Prosperity. And we have with us today, all the way from Glasgow, or did I say that right? Glasgow, Scotland, Maria Zaney. She's an actress. She's in TV, films. She's all into that. And she is also a historian, researcher of people that we are very well aware of and very well acquainted with, that before we learned of them as being actors and actresses, they were actually serving in our military. Maria, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi. And Anna Maria, I've been looking forward to this. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a producer, director, writer, researcher, development producer, senior consultant as well. So I do lots of different things. I'm also a published author. So I publish children's books. I'm right now, and I'm in the middle of doing another book right now. I think it's more going to be. It was meant to be children's, but I don't think it's going to be. But what I'm like you, when I research something, I go into a rabbit hole, and I like to research a lot of things. So I love actors from the the heyday of Hollywood. Like say, I loved my father and I used to watch, like for example, Spencer Tracy movies. We used to watch Jimmy Stewart movies, Clark Gable, Errol Flynn. Oh, I had a big
So,
crush on
so
Errol
Jimmy
Flynn.
Stewart, Clark Gable, Errol Flynn, they all had military backgrounds.
Yeah, Errol Flynn unfortunately did not. However,
Oh,
he wanted to be in the military. Unfortunately, he didn't pass. Um, didn't pass the military physical test. So if you think about it, that's quite funny. Errol Flynn, swashbuckling hero, didn't pass the fitness test. So what happened? He actually has lots of ill health. So he actually got malaria in Papua New Guinea. He also had a heart murmur. He had some types of, because he was a bit of a ladies' man. We're not going to say the type of diseases he had. And he had latent, what do you call it? Oh my God, latent TB. So
oh.
if you just put out there that the Mbati idol, who was physically beautiful, and athletic and was a swashbuckler, and was taken over from Gladly Fate Bank Jr., putting that out that he wasn't fit for service, that wouldn't be too well for the PR at the studios. Unfortunately, no. However, what you don't know is Errol Flynn's got quite a sad story. His son, Sean Flynn, actually went to Vietnam,
Oh,
but as a journalist, he as a photojournalist, he and his colleague Dane Stone went over in April 1970 over to Cambodia. They were actually, instead of going into limousines, they went on to motorbikes and crossed into Cambodia. But they were apprehended by the Viet Cong. And from that day, they were not seen again. And they were given to the Khmer Rouge. So Errol Flynn's son was also an actor, but he was passionate about being of service and going out with the special forces and taking pictures of the war in Vietnam. So if you look for Sean Flynn, you'll see a lot of his amazing pictures capturing the brutality of war and what war meant. And he actually done also the Palestinian war as well. So he was only 28 when he went missing, and Dane Stone was 30. And Errol Flynn's son, Sean Flynn, was engaged to be married, and Dane Stone was actually married. So that's pretty sad. So in 1984, his mother had spent so much money, Errol Flynn's ex-wife, to try and find her son, never found her son. So if you put that in
so he was missing in action?
Yeah, he was missing. He was actually, they believe he was murdered by the Khmer Rouge.
Oh, that's sad.
That's really sad. But what I loved is that I'm a big fan of Jimmy Stewart. And lots of you may not know out there that during the heyday, Jimmy Stewart decided to give Hollywood up and go and fight in Europe. But he was also a trained commercial pilot before entering World War II. So Jimmy Stewart did over 20 missions of hair-raising missions, and he was also a commander of a squadron. So he was, if you look at his military history and his military record, it's simply, my father loved Jimmy Stewart because he actually served in the war, and that's what my father loved about him. That he was just one of those nice, humble, one of those nice, humble people. He was down to earth. He had no airs and graces. He did his duty. But I think after what happened, I don't think he was ever the same again. Because there's also stories that he had PTSD and lost so many pounds. And I do believe that. The war World War II, the war in World War II was brutal. So he was commanding like bombers B-24s. You've got B-17s and you've got B-24s. So B-24s were mostly done in long range in the Pacific. They also bombed in Europe as well. But what I find fascinating is he came over and risked his life. He could have been killed. He could have been not the Jimmy Stewart that we know and love. And I just think there's a book about him as a bomber pilot, and think people should read it and see about what he did, and the fact that there's pictures of him back at home in 1945 in his father's hardware shop, speaking to the oldest employee that his father had. And it kind of reminds me a bit of my father, because my father was a tailor, and he ran a tailoring shop. And my father fought was also in World War II. He was in the army, so I'm proud of his service. Unfortunately, he never went to abroad. He had damaged eardrums,
Mm.
but he still served in the UK. However, my father, his name is Italian, so my father was actually quite bullied in the British Army because Italy was an enemy until 1943. But what people don't know, during the war in 1943 in Italy, it was still divided. So the north was in control by Germany, and the south was controlled by the Allies. So I'm from the north of Italy. So my great grandfather was actually a commander in the Partisans and fought to fight Hitler. So he was also the mayor of the city, the mayor of the town at the same time. So he would go and bomb bridges, bomb bridges at night, and then, but then he was also well educated, so he used to help everyone to read and write, and he used to help them. And I'm so proud of that history. I'm so proud that my great grandfather actually fought Hitler, but he was betrayed. So unfortunately, he had to spend a lot of time in hiding in the mountains of Italy.
Wow.
And during that time, when if someone killed a German soldier, there was really bad retaliation. So they would kill 10. They would kill 10 civilians for every German soldier that was killed. And no one told where my father, what my great grandfather was. No one told on him. They had so much respect for him, and that makes me proud. And so I think watching these programs like stars like Jimmy Stewart and also Clark Gable, you may not be aware, actually served as an airman and actually did a film in the air and actually was a real gunner as well. And he actually did about 5 missions, but he actually did a bit more than that. But what people don't realise, people talk about Top Gun being the first aerial combat movie. No, 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 no. That was done in 1943, and it's actually a documentary. So I want people to have a look at that and say, wait a minute, Top Gun is claiming they're the first to do aerial combat. No, you're not. And I'm quite like that. I'm quite, you know me, I like to say, no, there is movies before then. So he had like a camera operator and a sound man. But he also, but he also, he almost one time he almost never came back because a bullet ricocheted off and went up the turret and just missed them. But what people don't realise is Adolf Hitler put a price on Clark Gable's head because he admired Clark Gable. I don't think Clark Gable would like that, but I think what happened is his wife, he married his wife Carol Lombard, I think, and in 1939, unfortunately, she died in 1942 in a horrific air accident in the United States. don't think he ever really got over that. I think, although he was a womanizer, like Ella Flynn, I don't think he ever really got over that death. And I think that's the reason because himself and his lovely wife did a lot of raising money via war bonds, and that I think is really, really quite touching. And I think when he went to England, and it's funny, Jimmy Stewart and Jimmy Stewart and Clark Gable were actually I believe they were friends because they were actually under the eighth Air Force. So because I think Jimmy Stewart, if I'm not mistaken, went to Clark Gable's funeral. Or either Clark Gable or Ella thing, I can't remember. But that's what I love about researching and then finding out about things. Because what you don't realise is Lags in Scotland, where just down the road from me, was where the Battle of D-Day was actually organised.
Wow. So we're going to talk more about where D-Day battle was organized and talk a little bit more about Jimmy Stewart, Errol Flynn, and a few other people that might interest you. And so we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Let me introduce you to Frank Sinclair. He has a business called Dream Again Business Consulting. Frank believes that you were put on this earth for a specific reason. It's his job to find out why. If we follow the natural course of your life and your story, it always leads to your purpose.
Hi, Jay Stoyan here for the Disability Channel. I just want everybody to know that you can subscribe to our newsletter, which comes out quarterly, offering all types of opportunities, including our employment programs for persons with disabilities and veterans. Again, subscribe to our newsletter. It's free. Stay updated. I'm Jay Stoyan. You're watching the Disability Channel.
What's the cost of freedom? Life, limbs, sanity. To survive, soldiers need hope and help. Won't you help? Pledge $22 a month to the Veterans Ranch and give hope to returning U.S. military. For details, click the link and give hope to our returning military. Just $22 a month.
Hey vets, you know who I am. This is Ranger Johnson, and I want to help you to get the VA disability rating that you deserve. And if you want to know more about the Ranger method, please go to championsforveterans.com and schedule a free consultation now. Stay in the fight!
Thank you. Welcome back. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Retired Anna Maria Blevin, on Veterans Onward to Prosperity. And this is an episode that's unlike any of the other type of episodes. We have been bringing you information, resources, and sources by which you could build a new life, get on with your transition, and have a life worth living. But today we're doing something for fun. We're doing a little bit light stuff. We're doing like, did you know type of episode, in the fact that all of the folks that we have loved in the movies and TV shows and things like that, Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life, he is the most famous for that, was at one point in time bombing Europe.
Yep.
Errol Flynn, a swashbuckler in all of those swashbuckling movies, couldn't make make it past MEPS. Now that's kind of funny, right? Because I'm sorry, but I don't think he had stunt doubles back then. I think he's the one who was in those scenes, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And Clark Gable. Oh, who could not forget Clark Gable? Clark Gable, the handsome, tall, dark, stranger, handsome kind of persona. Well, did you know before he hit the silver screen, he was hitting something else and bombing. And did you know too, contemporarily speaking, they all three of them were contemporaries, but Jimmy Stewart and Clark Gable may have served together in the same battalion. This is really interesting stuff. Who else do we have?
Yeah. What people don't realize is that Jimmy Stewart ended his service as a brigadier general in the Air Force, and he's the only one that's actually, I think, in the Hall of Fame for aviation.
Wow.
And he won so many medals, so many honors. He is an absolute war hero. So
is excuse me, is it safe to say that in his transition from going from the Air Force to civilian life, landed him in Hollywood?
Yeah, but he was in Hollywood before that, but because he actually won an Oscar before going to serve, and that's what makes him so different to most other. He actually put his own life at risk, and I think that's so precious. If you look at now, like for example, we were talking about these combat movies. I remember a TV series over there, which was about I think it was about the Gulf War. It was only one season. Tour of Duty, one of my favourite series is from Bravo. We're talking about MASH, one of my favourite series of all time. And you told me that the song for MASH is about suicide. And I'm like, and also China Beach. I remember China Beach, and I love China Beach, and I used to watch like and people don't realize that a lot of, like, for example, a lot of our female veterans are invisible. So I like to find out what the female veterans, and what you may not realize, during in Britain, American Black GI soldiers and women were treated much fairer during World War II, because we don't believe in segregation. So we did not have segregation in the UK. So some of our females went out with black servicemen, because we don't see a difference. We see the person, and we don't see and how they were treated and how they were respected over in the UK led them to come over back to the US and demand more rights, which led to the civil rights movement, which I think, wow, that is something beautiful.
Wow, I did not know this.
And you may not know of a incident in the UK called the Bambara incident, that during that American MPs actually decided to have a war with the black soldiers, due to the fact that the town, or the small town that they were in, 3 of the pubs decided to place banners saying black servicemen only, as a protest to segregation. As during World War II, there was segregation, unfortunately, that was happening. So we decided in the UK to put posters up saying black servicemen only.
Just to be funny.
Yeah, and so to say that we don't support segregation, and we don't support it. It's something that we never supported. And the history of Glasgow, where I'm from, is where the anti-apartheid movement started. So our councillor, our Lord Provost, in 1981, decided to give the key of the city of Glasgow to Nelson Mandela in Robben Island, and that started the anti-apartheid movement. So for me, it's very important that you remember that it doesn't matter how long ago someone's been to war. PTSD affects everyone. And if you look at a lot of like service people, and especially like the king of Hollywood, which was Clark Gable, I had a bit of a crush on him. No, actually, Errol Flynn. I must admit, Errol Flynn. One of my favourite movies is Robin Hood with Errol Flynn,
yeah.
and I love him with Olivia de Havilland, and I must admit, I'm not a fan of Gone with the Wind. Everybody loves it, but I try to sit and watch it, but it's too long. I don't have the attention span, but I do like his alien work, and I do like the Misfits with Marilyn Monroe, and I just think and also recently it's been quite sad for his family because his grandson died in 2019, and he was only 30 years of age, and that was Clark Gable the Third.
Wow.
So yeah, I also believe like we had for a long time we had national service, and national service were taken away. So I think I'm from Italy as well, and national you have to do a year of national service in Italy. You must. I don't think I'm not too sure if it's like for girls. I know boys have to do it, and they have to do it for a year. So my brothers had to write in and say, I'm exempt because I live in the UK, but we have Italian passports. We're dual nationality. So I just love watching war movies. It's not about one of my favorite war movies is Have a Name and Pride, which is a story of Violet Sabo, who was a spy, and there were so many civilians, so many people during World War II that did so many amazing things as well. And I love reading about Hollywood stars that you wouldn't think of being in the army. I think the guy. I think if I'm not mistaken, the person, one of the Star Wars actors, was in the army. I think it was
As a matter of fact, I'm looking at a website right now where it talks about Queen Elizabeth drove a first aid truck during World War II. She was in the Women's Auxiliary Territorial Service in England.
Absolutely.
So hello, talk about celebrities, and I'm also on the site for females. B. Arthur, as in
Absolutely.
the one on Golden, Maud. She was Maud.
I love B. Affleck and
B.
I
Arthur,
love the
first member of the Marine Corps Women's Reserve before she was Dorothy.
Yeah, and the lovely Betty White. Betty White that recently passed away. I love her. I just think she was just a top notch.
Yes, I agree. I don't know that she served in the military, but oh my gosh, if she started in Hollywood at the age of 8, and she left the scene in her late 90s. Folks, that's like 90 years in an industry. That's unheard of.
Yeah, that's just she's an icon. No, James Blunt, the singer James Blunt, was a captain in the British Army.
Okay. Also, Jennifer Marshall from Stranger Things served in U.S. Navy for 5 years.
So many. There's also now more politicians and female politicians in America that have served, which can only be a good thing.
One of the women that is an actress in Army Wives, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her name, but Zule Henio or Zuli.
Army Wives. That's a good one.
Yes, and she served in the U.S. Army for 3 years. So what we're getting at is the fact that no, you don't necessarily have to transition from military and go on to the silver screen in Hollywood, but that it's just kind of interesting that someone like even Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, served in the Israeli Defense Forces for 2 years.
Yeah, they have to serve for at least 2 years, and it's really Wonder Woman. She is amazing. I love her, and she's actually really humble and really lovely as well, and really down to earth.
Dr. Ruth Westheimer. She's Dr. Ruth. Everyone knows her as Dr. Ruth, the sex therapist. She trains as a sniper in the what they call the IDF, which is, I guess, the Israeli Defense Force.
Oh my!
I know.
I don't want to meet her in the dark alley. I'm running away.
Let's hear it for a female veteran power. Female veteran power.
Absolutely, it's about empowering young women to believe in themselves, and I think it's really important, like that young. But we also have to remember the people we have to remember the families of the army, of those in the army, navy, and the armed forces, and they serve as well. And it's really important that we recognize them. And also during World War II, there was over 100,000 war brides that came over to the US. Whereas 2 million Americans came over to Europe. And some were staged in Europe, some stayed in the UK. And I'll be honest, without America, I don't think we would have won the war. Yeah, we did 2 years fighting them before America entered, but I don't think Hitler realized. I think Hitler underestimated Great Britain's resolve, and I think he was fighting too many wars on too many fronts.
Yeah, this is true. Harry Belafonte served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. Kirk Douglas fought during World War II. Adam Driver. Now we know Adam Driver. He's contemporary. Before he joined Star Wars, he was in the Marine Corps.
Yep, that's the one I'm reading. Marine Corps.
Clint Eastwood he was drafted into the Army during the Korean War, and he was in the Korean War.
Elvis Presley, did he not serve?
Elvis Presley, yes. Morgan Freeman was enlisted in the Air Force.
Yep.
James Earl Jones.
Oh, I love his voice.
He joined the Army during the Korean War. Chuck Norris joined the Air Force. Elvis Presley, yes, we were just talking about him. He was drafted into the Army. Tom Selleck also served in the Army National Guard. Wow, that's pretty cool.
So And they,
episode is all about the celebrity status of
yeah,
those that served in the
absolutely.
military.
Absolutely. There's so many of those who could have dodged the draft, but they didn't.
No,
They chose to serve.
right.
Not it's not war is not pretty. War is brutal. No, there's no winners in war. Both
No,
sides.
this is true. But in doing your duty, you do what you need to serve.
Absolutely. You do your duty to protect freedoms. There's countries outside the UK and the US that don't have the freedoms that you and I have. There's women out there that would not be able to have be educated. There are certain women in the Middle East that cannot sing on their own in public. It's not allowed. Or certain women are not allowed to vote. That's wrong. And it's only recently that they're being allowed to drive. And certain women do get killed for civil rights. Absolutely. And there's also, like, for example, like we talked about in the past, human trafficking as well. And there's lots of celebrities that are stopping that, and that is something you and I are passionate about. People don't realise a lot of ex-army female army veterans have PTSD, can end up human trafficked, and it can happen. People say to me, "No, that's not going to happen." Yes, it can. It can happen. There's so
This
many.
day and age, I know we really have to be aware of a lot of things, and not just be aware, but know that there is a part that everyone can play. Maria, this has been awesome. I mean, like I said to my audience, this has been a different type of show that we have been used to doing. But hey, it's a lighter, but it's also an awareness thing. It's also, we talked about a few things. We talked about several stars, people that we're very well acquainted with, and how they, before they came to Hollywood, served in the military. We talked about, too, the fact that there are some issues that are going on today for military transitioning, and we don't want to just skirt those issues anymore. We want to address them, and we're going to do that right after this message. Ron salutes as a LinkedIn business strategist and relationship advisor. He's the co-author of 21 Days to Success with LinkedIn. He's a guest speaker for the U.S. Army on veteran transition. Contact Ron at his website.
Hi, I'm Eric Windross. You're watching the Disability Channel, showcasing abilities.
America lost 22 yesterday. She could lose another 22 today. When is enough going to be enough? At the Veterans Ranch, we work with veterans, first responders, and their families through horses. The money you donate helps us expand our programs and help get that number down to 0. Help us serve the ones that served us all by going to project20000.org and pledge $22 a month.
Mike Merwin here, U.S. Navy retired submarine officer turned entrepreneur. I turned my hobby of 25 plus years making beef jerky into a thriving small business. Made in small batches with only high quality ingredients, it's not good, it's crazy good. A portion of all proceeds helps save military lives. Order now on www.crazymikesjerky.com using code CB10 for 10% off.
Welcome back, Veterans Onward to Prosperity. I'm your host, Master Sergeant Anna Maria Bliven, and we're talking to Maria Zaney, who herself happens to be, I want to say a Hollywood actress, but you're kind of like a Hollywood actress. If you go to the
Oh, you're too
IMDb,
kind. You're too kind. No.
IMDb, you've done movies.
Yeah.
Have you done plays? You've done plays?
Yeah, I've done plays. I'm the co-host of H&P Ability because I have this. I like to use the word enable. I'm a writer, director, producer. I am being developed and mentored to be a development producer in children's TV. I'm a senior consultant for an organization. I work for, I'm going to be working for a studio soon. So yes, I'm going to be the head of the disability section for the Ramsey International Film Festival this year. That festival does the Fight Back Awards, which is we promote and we also show films that have been made by ex-army vets talking about issues of PTSD. So that is really important to us, and we want to be able to then also help teach filmmaking to these ex-army veterans so they can tell their own story in their own way and put the word out there. So that's something that we're doing, which is really, really important. You and I.
So Maria, if we happen to have a veteran that is listening to this, or even a warrior, someone who is serving right now, but is interested in what we're talking about, how would they get in touch with you to learn more about the filmmaking, especially if they have a story or want to do a documentary series?
Yeah, what I can do is I can leave my email address with you. If anyone reaches out to you, you can pass it on to me. I'm also on LinkedIn, so they can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite approachable, hopefully. So we are working on save 22 for 20 save
Save 22 to save 22. And I'm telling you more about this because remember, before we went to break, I said that we've got some issues that we're not going to skirt around anymore. We're going to get real about them. So real, the same as real as what we're talking about with the Errol Flynn swashbuckling in Robin Hood, and Jimmy Stewart in the It's a Wonderful Life, and Clark Gable and Gone with the Wind. Those are not real per se. Those were real to us as we were watching them. But folks, we are now watching cases where our military brothers and sisters are going into a dark place and they're not able to get out of it. Maria, in her producing fashion and all of the studios that she works in, are banding together with us, and we are becoming a bonded sister across the pond, because this is not just indicative of male and female veterans here in the United States. It is a worldwide crisis where people who've served their country, just as we were just talking about, who have served their country and did their duty, and in the transition from being in that service to coming out of it and into a civilian world, couldn't find their way. And many of them have decided that once they get into that dark place, there is no light at the end of the tunnel. And the next best thing for them is to check out. In other words, commit suicide. We want to prevent that. We want to go beyond just the awareness of it, right, Maria? We want to go beyond the awareness of it.
Absolutely. Because, like, the frightening thing is not just 22, it's now 33 in America. It's rising. And is it related to COVID? Is it, we don't know. But I think it's related. No. I don't think it's related to COVID. I think it's related to not having a family unit. When you're in the army, you have a family unit. You're a part of a team. You're part of an organization. You're protected. Yes, it's tough, but we need to be honest and upfront and open to say, yeah, we're hurting, and I think people don't want to admit that they're feeling, because they feel ashamed, and they shouldn't feel ashamed.
Well, it's not just that. It's the fact that we were programmed as military veterans and warriors that to ask for help is a show of a weakness.
Absolutely, that's what I meant to say. If you ask for help, it's a show of weakness. You have to have this tough exterior. You have to be able to be tough. Yes, but your mental health can it is so can be so damaged if you, for example, if see stuff that you cannot understand, you come back. You're going to have to reacclimate to civilian life. For example, if you go into a setting, you hear a backfire, that could be that could set up, because my friend was in the army, was saying to me, noises would set him off, would start to panic, being in crowded places, would start to panic. He was always been looking at his surroundings. He was trained like that, and I can understand that. But also, what is really sad is what has happened in Afghanistan after 20 years. Afghanistan is now going to be a humanitarian crisis, and it's going to be really, really bad. And we spent so long, both with your side and my side, and Australia and other sides spent so long doing there to give girls the right to be educated, to give girls the right to be who they want to be, and that seems to be all gone. Maybe not as much, but it's just it makes me sad, and it really makes me. I'm really frightened for these girls. What are they going? What are they being forced to be in? And for example, people talk about all these organizations out there, but we have to watch and be careful, because recently in the UK we had a terror incident outside a hospital. Luckily, it blew. Um, so, but also those 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 ex men and women and ex warriors, the stuff that they have to go or see, and especially if you look at Operation Underground Railroad, what they see, they do and stop human trafficking. They do they do a fantastic service, but the stuff that they must see and what must witness must be heartbreaking.
Yes, it most certainly is. So to wrap this up, I simply want to say to the audience, I hope that you, first of all, it's been on the light side. So the history of a lot of our favorite actors and actresses that have served in the military, and now we enjoy them in the movies and TV, is incredible. Also, that's inspiring. That's inspiring to know that, not everybody's going to go and transition to Hollywood, but it's possible, right? Because the others have shown it to be the case. But more than that, Maria and I, even across the pond, are joining together so that we can prevent military suicide by making it possible for folks to have housing, employment, treatment, therapy, credit, background check, not check, but the credit and background repair. Let's face it, when people go and have a problem or struggle with transitioning, they end up in pay places and doing things that they otherwise would not be doing to mask the pain. But if they get into trouble, we now have a resource that will help repair that situation, which is important, because if you're kind of in trouble with your credit and your background, it's hard to get a job and hard to get a place to live. So while all that's going on, that's in transition, you get to stay in a place that's safe and secure with a lot of camaraderie, a lot of support, exactly what Maria just said, that community that was missing because now you're not in the military anymore. Now you get to be in that camaraderie, in that spirit of support, in that you got this all through the process. You're not alone. One of the three things that we realize when you get into a dark place and you can't get out of it is the fact that you're feeling alone. You're feeling overwhelmed. and you don't know which way to turn. Well, with Project Die Hard, there is a home front forward operating base that gives you the footing to and the firm ground by which you can get on your feet and stay on your feet. 222 to Save 22 is a fundraising events for which we are now engaged and moving right along. And you're going to learn more about that as the days go further into and get closer to February 22nd. But until then, this is Master Sergeant retired Anna Maria Bliven and Maria Zaney saying, be all you can be, signing off.
Thank you for your service to everyone out there, ex-military warriors, and God bless you all. And in my prayers, you're not alone. We have your back.